Hi, it's GramMoose. Tonight we're going to read a new story together. And of course, it's a Dr. Seuss book. It's called Did I Ever Tell You How Lucky You Are? Have you read this one yet? I haven't. Let's begin. When I was quite young and quite small for my size, I met an old man in the desert of Dries, and he sang me a song I will never forget. At least, well, I haven't forgotten it yet. He sat in a terribly prickly place, but he sang with a sunny, sweet smile on his face. When you think things are bad, when you feel sour and blue, when you start to get mad, you should do what I do. Just tell yourself, ducky, you're really quite lucky. Some people are much more, oh, ever so much more, oh, muchly, much, much more unlucky than you. You see that? Be glad you don't work on the Bunglebung Bridge, and they're building across Boober Bay at Bum Bridge. It's a troublesome world. All the people who are in it are troubled with troubles almost every minute. You ought to be thankful, a whole heaping lot, for the places and people. You're lucky you're not. Just suppose, for example, you lived in Gazette and got caught in the traffic on Zayat Highway 8. Boy, I'm glad I don't live there. Or suppose, just for instance, you lived in Gazare with the bedroom up here or your bathroom up there. Suppose, just suppose you were poor Herbie Hart, who has taken his trum-dim-belator apart. He never will get it together, I'm sure. He never will know if the gig or the gore fits the shrucks or the snucks or the snore. Yes, ducky, you're lucky you're not Herbie Hart, who has taken his trum-dibba-later apart. Don't take your trum-diddle-later apart. Think they work you too hard? Think of poor Allie Sard. He has to mow grass in his uncle's backyard. But it's quick-growing grass, and it grows as he mows it. The faster he mows it, the faster he grows it. And all that his stingy uncle will pay for his shoving the mower around it in the hay is this piffless pay of 2 duklas a day. And Allie can't live on such piffless pay. So, he has to paint flagpoles on Sundays in Grooves. How lucky are you? You don't live in his shoes. And poor Mr. Bix, every morning at 6, poor Mr. Bix has his boyfriend to fix. It doesn't seem fair. It just doesn't seem right. But his boyfriend just seems to go slumpy every night. It slumps in a heap, sadly needing repair. Bix figures it's due to the local night air. It takes him all day to unslump it, and then the night air comes back, and it slumps once again. So don't you feel blue. Don't get down in the dumps. You're lucky you don't have a boyfriend that slumps. And while we are at it, consider the schlots. A crumplehorn, web-footed, green-bearded schlotz, whose tail is whose tail is entailed with unsolvable knots. If he isn't muchly more worse off than you, I'll eat my umbrella. That's just what I'll do. And you're lucky indeed you don't ride on a camel. To ride on a camel, you sit on a whammel. A whammel, you know, is a sort of a saddle, held on by a button that's known as a faddle. And boy, if your old whamful faddle gets loose, I'm telling you, ducky, you're gone like a goose. And poor Mr. Potter, T-crosser, I-dotter, he has to cross T's and he has to dot I's in the I&T factory out in Van Nuys. Oh, the jobs people work at out west near Hatch. There's a hatcher bee watcher. His job is to watch, is to keep both his eyes on the lazy town bee. A bee that is watched will work harder, you see. Well, he watched and he watched, but in spite of his watch, the bee didn't work any harder, not much. So then somebody said, our old bumblebee watching man just isn't bee watching as hard as he can. He ought to be watched by another hotch-hotcher. The thing that we need is a bee watcher. Well, the bee watcher watched the bee watcher. He didn't watch well, so another hotch-hotcher had to come in as the watcher. And today all the hotch-watchers who live in Hotch-Hotch are watching the watcher watching, and the watcher who's watching the bee. You're not a hotch-watcher. You're lucky, you see. And how's fortunate you're not Professor DeBreeze, who has spent the past 32 years, if you please, trying to teach Irish ducks how to read Javanese. And oh, just suppose you were poor Harry Heddo. Try as he will, he can't make any shadow. He thinks that perhaps something's wrong with his jizz, and I think that, by golly, there probably is. See? He has no shadow. And the brothers Bazoo, the poor brothers Bazoo, suppose your hair grew like theirs happened to do, and you think you're unlucky? I'm telling you, ducky, some people are muchly, oh, ever so muchly more unlucky than you. And suppose that you lived in that forest in France, where the average young person just hasn't a chance to escape from the perilous pants-eating plants. But your pants are safe. You're a fortunate guy, and you ought to be shouting, how lucky am I? And speaking of plants, you should be greatly gladish that you're not Farmer Falkenberg's 17th radish. And you're so lucky that you're not Gucky Gown, who lives by himself 90 miles out of town in the ruins of Ronk. Ronk is rather run down. And you're so lucky that you're a left sock left behind by mistake in the caverns of Croc. Thank goodness for all of these things that you're not. Thank goodness you're not something someone forgot. You're not left all alone in some punkerish place, like a rusty tin coat hanger hanging in space. That's what I say, Ducky. Don't grumble, don't stew. Some critters are much, oh, ever so much, so muchly, much more unlucky than you. I hope you enjoyed our book tonight. Good night. GramMoose loves you.